It is my experience that subjectivity and bias are often confused terms. They're very different, but they are used interchangeably and wrongly. And I have a strong feeling about this, so I wanted to create this short video to tell you what is bias and what is subjectivity and point out how different they are. Now, first of all, the bias. When we say in science, right, there is bias in our findings and in our interpretations, we're not necessarily saying that these are lies or false statements, but what we are saying is that you are focusing on not the entire picture, but you are focusing on a certain point in what you are seeing in front of you, right? I try to depict you with using artificial intelligence's creativity with my own head. I made the definition for it, and it came up with this narrow view, close perspective, which I will connect it to bias. Looking at this picture in front of you, right, you see that it says this is the whole truth. Somebody tells you, and they're looking at from a keyhole, right? It's actually a good representation, I think. Now, when you're looking at from a keyhole, certainly you're not lying when you are depicting what you are seeing. But it is wholly different to say that I'm seeing the entire truth rather than I am actually seeing a partial view of what is in front of me. That's bias for you, right? The information is limited. There is one little, very narrow lens, and there are no other perspectives or angles that you can actually see this. And of course, you're creating certainty about that is creating whole set of issues in terms of findings when we are applying that to societies. Think about society as a picture, right? It's a good representation. We have to take a picture of it, and you are just like focusing on one angle of the society, and you are saying that this is the entire society. And it's like a problematic way of creating a depiction about a society from one segment of it, for example. You're not necessarily lying about that segment, but you're exaggerating the level of importance of that segment. So then you are having a whole lot of series of experiences, realities that are being lived. And for example, if there are opinion polls, and you are saying that this is how the society thinks, and you are taking 20% of the society, it's not necessarily that 20% is not there, but the rest of the 80% is left out, so you are being very biased. On the other side of the screen that you are looking is subjectivity, that you are positioning yourself to know where you are coming from and letting the people know that your investigations actually involve yourself as well. So you're not a subject that you can take yourself off of the study, but you have your perceptions, your ideas, your traumas, the good stuff that you lived with, and you are projecting that into what you are seeing. But you are at the same time aware of your social location, as a sociological term, social location, right? Where you are coming from, the geographies, the social classes, disadvantages and advantages that you are endowed by the society, and then you are saying to us, from this angle I am looking at it. Now, you are not trying to be biased. On the contrary, in order for acquiring objectivity, you are trying to let all of us know where you are coming from and how you are seeing it. And then in the meantime, as I try to sort of depict this to you, you are aware of other cultures, you are aware of other experiences, you are aware of other ways of looking at this, the ways that people have the opportunities and non-opportunities that they actually face for. And then you know where you are creating all of these ideas of yourself, right? Of the world that you are seeing within yourself. Sometimes I hear during the COVID time, I actually looked at a lot of conferences or videos or talks that people had, sometimes feminists, unfortunately, those are the people I watch, not the only people. I don't want to be biased, right? They're not the only people. I watch them more. So they say, we are allowed to be biased. No, you're not allowed to be biased. Science's objectivity actually is required, and it's very important. But when you are pretending to be objective, when you are not talking about what affects you, is not going to be creating objectivity. That's where the third person omniscient come, right? If you are talking as if you are just like, the author says, who is this author? You are the author, and you are a person who comes with all of that baggage in their minds, right? That's what we are trying to be saying when we are thinking about subjectivity. And Bakhtin is one of the very important people who actually tells us a lot of important things about the conditions of what's the importance of subjectivity. I'm going to be taking the definitions from him, but while you are looking at my third one, I am trying to be showing you the bias, the subjectivity, I already explained that hopefully, and the intersubjectivity that comes into play for us, right? And here is what intersubjectivity means. All of the meanings that we have, all the difference of us, the third part of your screen that shows the picture for you, tells you that there are different meanings, different experiences, different ways of knowing, different ways of being, depending on where we are located. A person who comes from the first world that is named and the third world that is named for us are not going to be having the same experiences of how to be. But how are we going to be understanding all of those things means that we do really need to make them come together and be aware of it, because knowledge can only become really knowledge if I not only know myself, but the other. So my subjectivity, on the other hand, not just I have to be refraining myself from bias, right? One little way of looking at it from a keyhole, it's not good enough that I am aware of my own experiences, but I do also need to know how others are experiencing and the way that we are interacting with that kind of multiple subjectivities. Bakhtin tells us, right? Bakhtin tells us that we don't know ourselves without knowing the other. This is how we are going to be reaching towards an intersubjective knowledge. And this is where the beauty of learning and reaching knowledge lie in. And as a little anecdote, there was this candidate and I asked, well, why did you pick the certain pages from a particular book and not the others? And she told me quite boldly that she just picked the ones that confirmed her arguments. That's bias for you, right? And I pointed this out. She gave me a certain European country's name and said, we're allowed to be biased in this particular country doing science. Well, I don't think so. But if you are allowed to be biased, that means you're not doing a scientific research, but you are a person who is already worlded, and you can actually think about, through this subjectivity, do we have this allowance to be biased in science, or do we have a necessity to be understanding our subjectivities, moving from that and trying to build our knowledge through intersubjective knowledge of others. I hope this video helped you for articulating your intersubjectiveness. Talk to other people, see where they're coming from, read the other countries and cultures. Don't read only from one school of thought or one civilization. This is where you are going to be combining all of your understanding and creating and reaching true knowledge. Happy reading and happy methodology. Bye.